It was strange how a school could feel different at certain hours, like it breathed differently when most students had gone home. During the day, the halls of Crescent Hill School buzzed with noise, slamming lockers, rushing feet, teachers calling out reminders, the faint echo of laughter that bounced off the old walls. But after 4 p.m., it all fell silent. The air thickened. The hallways stretched longer than they seemed. Shadows clung to corners where sunlight used to rest during the day. And every small sound, every distant creak, every soft flutter of paper felt louder than it should. That was the time Ayan usually stayed, not because he liked being alone, but because he always felt behind. Behind on assignments, behind on group projects, behind everyone else who seemed to know where they were going in life. Staying late gave him a chance to catch up without distractions. It made him feel like he could breathe, like the world wasn't moving too fast for him. But he never expected that the quiet hour after school would pull him into something far darker than unfinished homework. The story actually begins on a dull Wednesday afternoon, the kind of day where the sky looked like a giant gray blanket stretched tight over the world. It had been threatening to rain since morning. The air felt humid, heavy, and every classroom felt warmer than it should. Even the teachers looked tired. Ayan spent most of the day waiting for the final bell, counting the minutes. Not because he wanted to go home, but because he wanted space. The kind of space only an empty school could give him. His friend, Omar, had asked him 3 times if he wanted to walk home together, but Ayan kept saying no. Omar didn't understand why someone would willingly stay in school longer than necessary, especially this school, where rumors grew faster than homework piles. Kids whispered about strange noises from the basement, lights flickering on and off by themselves, and a classroom that wasn't supposed to exist. But Ayan didn't care much for ghost stories. He always believed every creepy sound had a normal explanation. Old pipes, rusty doors, someone playing a prank. At least, that's what he believed then. That Wednesday, as the final bell rang and students rushed out like they'd been released from a cage, Ayan took his time packing up. He stacked his books, closed his notebook, and zipped his bag slowly, letting the noise fade. Once he stepped into the hallway, only a few students remained, chatting near their lockers or hurrying toward the exit. Teachers passed by, nodding politely before disappearing into the staff room or leaving for the day. Within minutes, the building settled into calm silence. Ayan walked to the library first, settled into his usual desk by the window, and opened his math workbook. The sky outside had darkened even more, the clouds pressing low like they were waiting for something. Inside the library, the quiet buzz of the air conditioner filled the space, and the librarian typed softly at her desk, barely glancing his way. Everything felt normal, but that feeling didn't last. It started when the library lights flickered for a second, just one small blink. Ayan didn't think much of it. Old building, old wiring, but then it happened again. The second flicker lasted a bit longer, followed by a low hum from the ceiling lights. He looked up, expecting them to turn off completely, but they steadied. The librarian looked around too, frowning. "Must be the storm," she muttered, although the storm still hadn't arrived. Ayan tried to refocus on his notes, but something in the room felt different now. Heavier, like the air had shifted. He pushed it aside and continued working, until he heard it. A soft, slow tap, not loud, not sharp, just a faint rhythmic tapping. He paused, lifted his head, and scanned the library. No one else seemed to react. The librarian was busy sorting papers. Everything looked the same, and the tapping faded as quietly as it started. He told himself it was probably just someone closing a book or adjusting something on a shelf. But as he continued writing, his hand suddenly stopped on its own. He felt it again, that strange feeling like someone was watching him. He didn't turn around immediately. Instead, he listened. The tapping didn't return, but the air felt colder somehow, like a draft had slipped through the room. When he finally glanced over his shoulder, nothing was there. No one stood behind him. No one had entered or left the library. Probably just tired, he whispered to himself. He closed his books after an hour, deciding to head out. Only a few hallway lights were left on. The school looked dim and stretched out, the way buildings do when your brain fills the silence with imagination. Ayan slung his backpack over his shoulder and walked down the hallway, stepping over the occasional puddle of light where a working bulb still glowed. He was halfway to the main exit when he noticed something strange. A door he had never seen before. It was squeezed between room 12 and room 14, two classrooms he passed every day. He stopped walking, blinking hard, as if his eyes were playing tricks on him. The door looked older than the rest in the hallway, with peeling gray paint and a metal handle that had rusted around the edges. Above it, a crooked metallic plate hung unevenly, faint numbers etched into the surface. 13. His breath caught. There was no room. 13 in Crescent Hill School. Everyone knew that. The school map didn't show it. Teachers never mentioned it. Students joked about it being cursed or sealed off years ago. But now it was here. A perfectly solid, unmistakably real door. Wait, what? He whispered. He walked closer, slowly, like something was pulling him and pushing him away at the same time. The hallway lights flickered again, dimming for a moment before brightening. A soft, cold draft seeped from the bottom of the mysterious door, brushing against his shoes like a whisper. For a moment, Ayan considered ignoring it. He could just leave, walk straight to the exit, pretend he didn't see anything. But something about the door felt wrong. Not just mysterious, but out of place, in a way his mind couldn't explain. As if it didn't belong to the school, or even to this time. His hand moved before he could think. He rested his fingers on the doorknob. It felt colder than ice, colder than metal should ever feel. A chill crawled up his arm, making him gasp softly. That's when he heard it. A soft sound from inside the room, something like breathing. Slow, deep, too close to the door. Ayan froze. He didn't move. He barely even blinked. He tried to pull his hand away from the doorknob, but for a second it felt like it didn't want to let go. His chest tightened, and he stepped back quickly, bumping into the wall behind him. "Hello?" he said before he even realized he was speaking. No answer, just that faint, slow breath. In, out, in, out. He looked down the hallway. It was empty, too empty. Even the distant hum of the building felt muted now. Maybe someone was trapped inside? Maybe it was a teacher, a student, a janitor. But something deep inside him, something instinctive, told him no. Whatever was inside wasn't normal. He reached toward the door again, not to open it, but to make sure he wasn't hallucinating. His fingers brushed the surface. It was solid, real, cold. Then, without warning, the breathing stopped. Silence filled the hallway. thick and suffocating. Ayan's heart pounded so loudly, he could hear it echo in his ears. He stepped away slowly, not taking his eyes off the door. But as he moved back, he noticed something else. Something he hadn't seen before. A faint line of light. Red light. It seeped from the bottom of the door like a thin glowing crack. He swallowed hard. The red light pulsed once, like a heartbeat. And then a soft whisper came from the other side. Ayan. He stumbled backward in shock. His name. It whispered his name. He turned, ready to run, but something, curiosity, fear, confusion, held him frozen in place. He spun back, staring at the door. The hallway lights flickered violently. The red glow brightened. Something on the other side scraped against the floor. Slowly, heavily, coming closer. Ayan's breath trembled. He didn't know how, but he suddenly understood one thing with absolute certainty. Whatever was inside room 13 knew he was there. And now, it was coming toward the door. Ayan didn't wait to see what would happen next. His instincts kicked in, and he ran. His footsteps echoing through the hallway as the red light under the door pulsed faster, almost like it was reacting to his fear. He didn't stop until he reached the main exit, pushing the heavy door open and stumbling outside into the cool night air. The sky had finally opened up, and rain poured down in steady sheets. He stood there for a moment, soaked, shaking, trying to calm the panic rising in his chest. When he finally looked back through the glass of the school entrance, the hallway seemed still and normal again. No red glow, no strange breathing. Just the same quiet building he thought he knew. But he knew what he saw wasn't his imagination. He wiped rain from his face, took a shaky breath, and walked home without looking back again. The next morning, Ayan expected someone else to mention something. Maybe a power issue, maybe a door repair. Anything that would prove he hadn't imagined everything. But the school looked exactly the same as it always had. Students chatted, laughed, tossed backpacks over their shoulders. Teachers handed out worksheets. Nothing felt out of place, at least not on the surface. But Ayan couldn't stop thinking about room 13. By the time lunch break came around, he couldn't take the silence anymore. He met up with Omar and finally told him everything, from the door to the red light to the voice whispering his name. Omar listened without interrupting, his expression tightening with every detail. "You should have told someone," Omar said quietly. "Maybe a teacher." "No one would believe me," Ayan said. "They'll just say I was tired or stressed." Omar leaned back against the cafeteria wall thinking, what if someone else has seen it too? You can't be the only one. Ayan shook his head. I've passed those classrooms for years. Everyone knows there's no room 13. Omar looked at him carefully. Maybe there wasn't. Until now. That idea sat heavy in Ayan's mind for the rest of the day. If the room only appeared yesterday, then it wanted something. Or someone. The thought made his chest tighten again, but he tried to focus on class. He almost made it through the day, pretending everything was normal. Almost, during sixth period, the lights flickered again, just like they had in the library. A few students laughed nervously. Others looked around confused. The teacher brushed it off as electrical issues, but Ayan felt that same cold shift in the air. The same heavy stillness. It was happening again. After school, Omar insisted on walking with him to the hallway near room 12 and room 14. Just to check, he said. If the door's there, I'll see it. If it's not, then we figure something out. Ayan didn't want to go back, but he also didn't want to deal with this alone. They made their way to the corridor, the school slowly emptying as students left. Sunlight filtered through the windows, warming the hallway just enough to make it feel normal. Safe. Ayan hoped, just a little, that the door wouldn't be there. But when they turned the corner, his heart dropped. The door was there. Old paint, rusted handle, the crooked plate with the number 13. Omar froze. Okay, I didn't expect that. You see it too? Ayan whispered, relieved and terrified at once. Yeah, I see it. Omar stepped closer, but didn't touch the door. This wasn't here yesterday. I swear. Ayan nodded slowly. I know. For a long moment they stood in silence. The school felt different again, like it was holding its breath. What do we do now? Omar asked. Before Ayan could answer, they heard something. A soft sound. Not breathing this time. Something lighter. Soft scraping. Like chalk writing on a board. They leaned in, listening. And without warning, the lights above them blinked off, plunging the hallway into dim shadows. Omar grabbed Ayan's arm. Nope, we're not staying here. But just as they turned to leave, the door to room 13 made a tiny sound. A click. As if the lock had opened by itself. The boys froze. The door didn't open all the way. It cracked open only an inch. Just enough for a thin line of red light to spill out across the floor. The same heartbeat-like pulse filled the hallway, stronger this time. Something was inside, and whatever it wasn't trapped. It was inviting. Ayan's heart pounded painfully as he stepped back. Omar whispered, We're leaving. Right now. They ran again, the red light flickering behind them, growing dimmer the farther they got. By the time they reached the school entrance, the building felt normal again. The lights brightened, the air warmed, the silence lifted. They didn't talk much on the walk home. Both were shaken in a way that simple words couldn't fix. The next morning, Ayan walked into school with a mixture of fear and determination. He needed answers. Real answers. So he went straight to the office and asked for the oldest staff member, the one who had worked at Crescent Hill the longest. Mrs. Hale, the librarian, fit that description well. When he asked her calmly if there had ever been a room 13, she stopped sorting books and stared at him for a few seconds. Not annoyed, not confused, just alert. Why do you ask? She said softly. Ayan hesitated. I just heard some things. She exhaled slowly. That room was sealed off years before you were born. It was built by mistake during the old construction. It wasn't supposed to be used. The layout didn't match the rest of the building. Strange drafts, strange noises. The staff decided to block it permanently after a few incidents made people uneasy. So it exists? Ayan whispered. Not anymore. The space was filled in. She paused, lowering her voice. But old buildings don't forget their rooms. Sometimes. Places find their way back. Ayan felt a cold weight settle in his stomach. If it appears again, what should someone do? Mrs. Hale looked at him with a kind but steady expression. Leave it alone. Some places open because they want company. Don't give it what it wants. That was all she said, but it was enough. From that day on, Ayan never walked near that hallway alone. He avoided staying late, and he kept a careful eye on flickering lights and sudden drafts. Sometimes, from the end of the hall, he thought he saw a faded red glow, so faint it could have been imagination. But he never checked again. Omar stayed close, and life slowly returned to normal. Not perfect, but normal enough. And though Ian never spoke about room 13 publicly, he kept one truth close to his heart. Some doors appear for a reason. Some rooms aren't meant to be found. And when a place that shouldn't exist calls your name, the smartest thing you can do is walk away. In the end, Ian learned something important. Curiosity can open doors, but wisdom keeps them closed. And not every mystery in a school needs to be solved. Some places are better left forgotten, even if they aren't ready to forget you. That was the last time Ian ever saw the red light under that door. But every now and then, when he stays too late, or the hallway lights flicker unexpectedly, he gets the same uneasy feeling. A reminder that room 13 might still be somewhere, waiting, watching, hoping he comes close enough to open the door again. But he never does. And that's why the door stays closed.